Hi there, this is Jennifer. Welcome to Crafting in Carrollville. I'm so glad you've joined us this week. I'm super excited about today's video. I've got some really cool projects I worked on this week, and these are some of the materials I used in my projects. Can't wait to show you everything that I've done. We get to every single one of these things except the pillows, and we'll cover those next time. At this point, I'm just sort of fitting my board here with a frame. This is the sign face that I'm using. I picked it up at Hobby Lobby. The next time you see it, I will have already painted the face, and I'm going to decoupage my new paper onto this board that I got for $3.50 at Hobby Lobby. I bought a bunch of these on clearance, and I had two left that I hadn't worked on, so I went ahead and made two of these. I ordered this decoupage paper from Zazzle. I designed it myself. This is from a photograph that I took at a hobby farm of Highland cows a few weeks ago. We've been talking about that through several videos. I'm just using Mod Podge to decoupage this to the face of my sign here. Using a very light, thin coat, you can see that I'm spreading it out as evenly as I possibly can because that's what helps me avoid bubbles and wrinkles. If you happen to see any bubbles or wrinkles, don't worry, I'm coming for them. And over time, generally, if you do a good job decoupaging and you keep your medium nice and light and thin, you're not going to have any bubbles or wrinkles. So there's the good news. Also, here's some better news. I know you're gonna love it. So y'all can order this decoupage paper from Zazzle yourself. It will come straight from Zazzle, and I'm gonna leave the link in my description box for y'all. It comes in several sizes. It comes in 10-pound and 18-pound paper. It also comes, I think, in 4 different sizes. This is the 17 by 23 inch size, just to give you some reference. My finished piece, I think, turns out to be 20 inches by 26 inches, I believe, or somewhere really close to that, because I do add a frame, and you're going to see that as we go. Y'all know how much I love to add frames to things because, listen, art isn't art until it has a frame, right? So if y'all want to see how I make decoupage paper, how I design decoupage paper, I would be glad to show you. Comment if that's something you'd like to see me cover in a video, because I feel like probably a lot of us are hobbyist photographers. Probably a lot of us have photos that we would love to turn into something, and this is how that began with me. I take between 800 and 1,000 pictures every time I have a photo shoot at a farm for my portraits from the Patcher collection, and there are maybe 1 or 2 that turn out to be something I want to draw. Now I'm adding a frame to the face of this picture. These are just slat boards that I bought at Home Depot. I think they're about 58 cents a piece. I've cut them, I've mitered them, and now I'm just going to add them to the sign, to the front of my picture here. And you're going to notice they're not perfect. They don't line up perfectly at the miters. That doesn't matter because they're going to be covered. I just need them there to add some depth, and I'm basically constructing a frame around my picture. So it does not have to be perfect at this point. If it did need to be perfect, I would have gone back and recut them and made them perfect, but I know my end goal here, so I'm not super worried about it. I'm using my brad nailer to nail those to the front of the board. Always, if you have a brad nailer, check to see that you have the correct size nails, because you don't want to go too far into your project or all the way through your project. I've learned over time to check that. We all do those mistakes once, and then we remember for the next time. But see, in that corner there, it doesn't line up. Totally not a problem. Not worried about it. Just showing you that I have long nails for my next round of frame, but I didn't need them. I needed the shorter ones for this particular stage. Now I'm adding the outside frame to my picture. I have cut these down with my miter box and my handsaw. I'm also casting some molds, and you're going to see how I use those as we go. I'm adding molds all the way around my frame. I'm just using a variety of molds, whatever I have. I have some from Prima, redesigned by Prima. I also have a few that came from Hobby Lobby, their baking section. If you're not looking at Hobby Lobby, Walmart, Michaels for your molds, I say this a lot, go ahead and look there. They have some great things that you might be interested in. The particular one that I'm working with right now came from Redesigned by Prima, which are really neat. I really love, they have a huge variety and they're really great quality molds. If you watch my last video, you watched that you can actually make your own molds. So that's good information to have as well. I'm using wood glue to adhere my molds to my frame. That's my go-to method. I always use wood glue to glue my molds down. I'm not worried that it oozes out. I'm going to come back with a baby wipe and wipe that off. I'm also going to be painting this, and that's going to cover it. I just make sure that I have everything symmetrical, top and bottom and sides. Everything looks the same. I just eye it for the most part. I don't do any measuring. Now I'm coming in with some chalk paint. I'm going to paint my frame, my newly constructed frame. I make my own chalk paint most of the time, unless you see me use something else, and I'll always tell you what I'm using. But I fell in love with this color. It was an Oops paint that I picked up at Home Depot, and now every time I need it, I have it in my, they have it on file at Home Depot. If you ever go there to get paint, you'll know that you can give them your phone number and they'll keep everything that you've ordered in the paint department on file. So I couldn't tell you the name of the color of this, but it's a super light tan, sort of an ecru color, and it doesn't throw yellow. It's very, very neutral. So that's why I love it. And then I just add a couple tablespoons of calcium carbonate. I pour it into a 4-ounce container. I add probably between 3 and 4 tablespoons of calcium carbonate. I mix that with water, and then I pour it into my paint and stir it really, really well. Still working on getting all that painted. I sped this way up because I don't know about y'all, but I've gotten to the point where I can't stand to watch people paint. And also I've noticed that I speed these videos up, and then when I watch them at real speed, I'm like, oh my goodness, what's wrong with me? Why am I so lethargic? Like, why am I moving so slow? Well, that's really how I move. I don't really move this fast. I mean, you know, I wish I could. I'd get about 6 times more done during the day. Anyway, you can see I've come in, I don't know if you can see, but I've come in, and if my miters weren't perfect, I came in and fixed them a little with wood putty. Like I said, I wasn't worried about perfection because I knew that most of those areas were going to be covered with molds, and that's exactly what happened. I prepared my molds ahead of time for the most part. I just had one that I didn't do, and so I did that on camera. But most of these molds I prepared ahead of time, which honestly was probably not my favorite way to do it, because I do prefer the resin molds to be a little more flexible when I'm working with them. So I'm going to remember that next time. Actually, you can come in with a heat gun and soften them, and that's probably the route I'll go. I am working harder to have things more prepared when I come into my workshop, so I'm not just constantly in and out of frame looking for something. You know, I've gone off on a mission to find my scissors or whatever it is. You can see I'm filling in with white wax now. I've painted, it's dried, and now I'm using my white wax to come in and fill in all of those details. I've got my wax brush, and that's what I'm doing. Those are just going to make all those details in the molds pop. It's going to give it some dimension. It's also going to make it look sort of like concrete, which I'm really loving what the white wax does here. Usually when I find something I love with a particular product, like this picture, I do that over and over and over again. So this is probably how I will complete this project a few times, no matter what size I'm doing it in. So if you see waffles and ginger in a frame, it's probably going to look just similar to this no matter what size it is. I'm using the Best Dang Wax by Dixie Belle in white. I think I mentioned this in my last video. My Home Depot had their Bare finishing wax on clearance for $5 a can, white and dark brown. So if finishing wax is something you're in the market for, you might want to check at your local Home Depot to see if they're on sale. Now I'm coming in with some gold rub and buff, and I'm using this pretty sparingly. I'm not interested in covering all of those molds with gold, just the high points, and this is adding just the right touch of warmth to this picture. To me, there's a lot of gold tones in this artwork, and so I'm loving what the gold rub and buff does, and you're going to see that in my end reveal, just how warm that rub and buff makes the finished product. I made 2 of these. I don't show myself making 2 of them, but I make 2 of them during this process. I love the way they turned out. Now, these frames I have seen everywhere on the internet. They're from Dollar Tree. They're cheap as heck, and they come with a chalkboard inserted in them and no glass because it's a chalkboard. But I've taken them apart and I'm painting them. I've actually primed them first with spray paint, and now I'm painting them the same color I used on the last project. And what I love about these frames is all the wonderful texture that's in there. They look like they have molds on them already. So, you know, Dollar Tree helped us skip a couple steps there, which is great. Also, I don't love it that they're super lightweight because, you know, that just like definitely announces that they're cheap. But I'm going to add so much richness to this project by using fabric as my paper. So you're going to see as we go. For right now, I'm just painting all of these. The reason I primed them first is this plastic. It is so easy to bang it up, and you know, I'm going to carry my stuff to shows, so it's going to be stacked, it's going to be packed, all that sort of stuff. So I primed them good first, and then I go over them with chalk paint, and it seems to really make a difference in how they hold up. I grabbed all of these that I could at the Dollar Tree. They're still, you know, $1.25. So I had the opportunity to buy a whole case, and I didn't, and I should have, because I went looking for more and couldn't find them. But I don't even know if they're going to sell yet, so what am I talking about? Anyway, I have printed waffles out on fabric and also waffles and ginger out on fabric. Now, if you want to know how I do this particular trick, I'm going to put a video on the end screen here, and you'll be able to click on that, and it will take you through the process of printing on fabric. I tell you what kind of fabric, how to send it through your printer, all the details. I just didn't explain that in this video because I had done a very similar project in a previous video, so I'm just going to link that on the end screen, so you can get there if that's something you're interested in. I'm just using fabric scissors to cut my images out. These are 5x7s, so 2 images fit on 1 sheet of your fabric. I'm using hot glue to tack them back down to the backers there. Another thing I liked about these frames is that they had the black insert, but on the back was that light brown color. So that helped me skip a step as well, because I didn't have to paint anything white. I would have, if it had been black on both sides, obviously I would have painted white, because even though that's fabric, it still would have lost some of its luster if it were just glued onto a black background. So the same thing with decoupage paper. You always want to decoupage onto a white background for the most part. Otherwise your colors are going to wash right out. So that would have happened in this case had I attached it to a black background. But Dollar Tree did me another favor and saved me a step, so that was super nice of them. I'm sure they had me in mind when they did that. Anyway, I'm definitely going to be on the hunt for more of those frames. We'll see how they sell first. Anyway, after I get them all covered and there's a picture on each of my boards, I'm going to insert them back into their frames. Trim some of that excess fabric off if it's too bulky. These were one of the most simple projects to make, and I love, like I said, the richness that printing on fabric adds to them. I had this idea as soon as I saw these frames that they looked like something that should hold like a tapestry type thing. So, you know, they're kind of old world. They're actually, you know, Dollar Tree really hit it. They're whoa. You hear that? That's my dog Sully barking. She's really upset about the fact that our other dog exists. So that's what's going on there. I've left a couple minutes of this next segment in for you because I want you to see how easily you can produce some things in bulk if you're interested. If you have a booth or you do vendor shows, it's a great idea to have 10 or 20 of something you really love. First of all, it shows your buyers that you're super excited about your products, and it shows your event planners that you're super excited about their event. And also, you know, if they sell, you're going to make some money. So when I have something like this, a new art piece to debut, I stock up. I make sure that I have lots of product. Am I going to sell it all in one show? Probably not. But then I'll have some product for the next show. I hope that helps somebody out there. When I was first doing shows, I'll tell you, when we first started, I wish I'd had somebody to tell me, somebody to trailblaze for me and tell me what to do and what not to do. We learned a lot along the way, and it didn't take long, but just some friendly advice there. Just a way to get some things done in a quick hurry that look great and impressive and will just be a showstopper. Anyway, so you can see how quickly those little things are coming together. I really love the way these things turned out. They're so sweet, and I was able to make, I think, 13 of them all within just a few minutes. Now, there were some steps involved. You know, I had to paint the frames, I had to print the fabric, all those sorts of things, but those are just a normal part of crafting. You know, you do everything step by step, and eventually it all gets done. I'm waxing these frames with the white wax, just like I said. Every time ginger and waffles show up in a frame, they're probably going to be white wax at this point, just because I think that's the way they look best. I'm not going to come back in with the gold robin buff and put that on these frames. Maybe I will in the future, but for now, they just are what they are. But I love the way these turned out, and they were so simple. Let me know what you think about this project and all the projects. If you like what you're seeing today, like, share, subscribe, comment, all those things. You can see I made 5 of just waffles, and then I think I made 8 of waffles and ginger together. These particular cows are herd mates. They live together in a place called Alva, Florida. It's way down south by Fort Myers. Now I have these frames that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. They were $3.49, I believe. Hobby Lobby was nice enough to wrap them in paper for me so I didn't break them between buying them and creating with them, because, you know, I could do that sometimes. You don't know. I'm going to take all the stickers off, all the price tags, all of those things that tell anybody that they came from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to take those love signs off as well. They're not necessary for this. They would kind of maybe be a cute addition if they were going to go, if waffles and ginger were going to go together in these frames, but they're not. I'd still have to move them to the bottom of the frame, right? Because waffles and ginger are formatted in a landscape format, and this is a portrait format that I'm using here. I grabbed these up when they clearanced at Hobby Lobby because I knew I wanted to have some things ready just to pop my artwork in. I didn't want to have to paint frames or do anything to prepare. I just wanted to be able to pop a few things into frames ready to sell at my next show. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm cleaning the glass. I'm distressing things back a little bit because when I pulled that love sign off, some distressing happened. So I just wanted to make all the sides match. I'm also wiping things down with a baby wipe to make sure that they're clean. I know I'm working at top speed here. It's really hard to believe I can move this fast, but I'm doing it. I only have 3 of those. I would have bought every one that they had. If they'd had more, I would buy some more. I'm totally on the lookout though for more of those Dollar Tree frames. I just really love the way those turned out. These are, you know, obviously a little heavy, better quality, obviously, but I love the way these turn out as well. And I'm going to do 3 of these really quickly, again, to show you that you can put some artwork together really quickly and efficiently if you plan things out and just plan for that. And how you display it is up to you. I mean, sometimes I display everything out all at once, or sometimes I put just a few out at a time and then replenish as things sell. This is probably one of this is not even a DIY right here. This is just me putting artwork in frames. That's all that is. Now I'm unboxing these G-clay prints from Miller's Lab in Minnesota. These are 11 by 14s, and I order them one day and they come shipped to me the next day. I'm also taking the backer out of this art piece that I picked up at Hobby Lobby, taking all the price tags off, taking all those staples out, which was sort of a pain. Just use my needle nose pliers to grab all those staples and pull them out. That was the hardest part of this project, super simple. I was also super relieved to know that once I pulled that backer off, I wouldn't have to cut my picture down. I notched the corners because the backer also has notched corners. That's all I did though, was notch those corners and then put the backer back in. And then I just used hot glue to secure it back in. I made 4 of those. They came together super, super quick, and I love the way they turned out. Totally one of my favorite projects that I've done lately. We're nearing the end of our video. I'm so glad that y'all watched today. I hope that you become a subscriber, like, comment, share. That really helps YouTube push my video out. We get a lot more traction when y'all participate, and that really helps. I'm also going to have another video for you on the end screen. You can click on that and you can learn how I printed out on fabric. Stay tuned to the very end to see how everything turned out, and I'll see y'all back here next week. Bye-bye.